Solo and Soul with Phinesse. Solo and Soul with Phinesse. Solo and Soul with Phinesse. Solo and Soul with Phinesse.
Welcome to another edition of Soul on Soul with Phinesse. I'm your host, Phinesse Demps, and it's always a pleasure to have the listening audience stop in to hear some great independent soul artist music. And tonight is not going to be any different because we're going to take a trip to Charlotte-based R&B soul singer, and she makes her indie debut with a soulful new album, and it's titled Finally. Now, I've been tracking this artist on Soul Tracks, Urban Influencer, and she comes to us courtesy of Platinum Plus music service, which for all you independent artists is somebody you need to look into if you're trying to get your music out there, because they do great work for us and we get really cool artists like today's artist. Today's artist is Miss Susanne Smith, and she joins us. How you doing, Miss Susan? How are you today?
I'm doing great. Phinesse, how are you?
I'm doing well. Now, I want to let you folks know, Susan specializes in R&B, smooth jazz, and blues. Now, Susan is no rookie. Her music has been heard all over the world, the top official U.S. and global indie music charts. Her music can be found on all digital platforms, radio, and under Susanne Smith Music. So, Susan, how did you get involved in music?
First of all, it's Susanne, but that's
Susanne. I'm sorry. And I asked you that, and I still did it.
That's okay. It gets confusing, I know. But I started in music as a young kid, actually, like many musicians. But I started and really got my professional start right after high school, and pounded the pavement up in New York City, trying to get a break. And that's pretty much how I started. And it was a long time on my grind. And it was actually just recently, a year ago, that I really got my break into being able to actually make a record and get it to radio. So it's been it was an uphill climb for many years, but it finally got there. Hence the name of the album, Finally.
Susan, I want to be real and have this real conversation. And it seems like you're one that wouldn't mind. Is that long grind getting into music, getting your music heard? And people don't want to talk about color, but sometimes color does come into play. You have chosen to do R&B and soul and jazz, which for some people have been like, why does she want to do that? Why don't she do something else? Has that been one of the obstacles for you in really getting people to take you serious?
Oh, yes, it absolutely has. But, I grew up in a primarily Black neighborhood, so that's really where kind of my roots come from, even though I'm white as a ghost, physically. But it has its challenges even to this day, yes, for sure. And it's just a matter of trying to have people hear my heart, and hopefully they'll resonate with the music, because it's about the music, and music really has many, many colors and no color at all. So depending on how you look at it. So it's really, the music comes from my heart, and hopefully that will, as I said, resonate with people of all colors.
And so let me ask this question of you. When it comes to the definition of soul, what is your definition?
My soul is my soul. I mean, that's who I am. That's everything that I bring to the table, internally and externally. And it's the soul for me is just very, very deep in my heart. And hopefully you can feel some of my soul in my music.
All right. Talking to Miss Susanne Smith. Don't let me get myself in trouble. When I even asked, it's still messed up. Anyway, Miss Susanne Smith. Her music is out now, and she's really tearing up the chart. And for you folks, when I tell you the girl can sing, she can sing. Climbing up the charts as an independent artist is really rough. But when you're spiraling up the charts, because your sound and your song is good, something is. I gotta tell you that this artist got to be special, and I really think she is. So Suzanne, before we go into break, I always give my artists an opportunity to share their website and their social media so that you can gain some new followers and some new fans. Can you please share?
Yes, absolutely. My website is SuzanneSmithMusic.com, and my social media is at Susanne, and that's for Instagram and for TikTok. And that's Facebook is Susanne Smith Music, and it's spelled with an S, Susanne Smith Music on Facebook. And you can also go to and friend me if you like on Susanne Smith Vocalist.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Suzanne more about her music and hopes and goals and dreams. So you want to come on back. You know how we do Soul on Soul with Phinesse. We're keeping your soul connected. We'll be right back. Susanne Smith, a special guest on Soul on Soul with Phinesse, and it's your boy Phinesse Demps. And by the way, since we're giving out social media, let me give you mine. It's Phinesse, Soul on Soul with Phinesse. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. If you want to get in contact me on my email, soulonsoulwithphinesse@gmail.com. And incidentally, Phinesse is spelled with a PH and not an F. Phonics, folks, phonics. Anyways, getting back to my special guest, Susanne Smith. So, Susanne, I gotta ask you, you grew up in a Black neighborhood. Was that in North Carolina or somewhere else?
No, that was up in New Jersey, actually.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
you a northerner like the rest of us that
I'm a
work on this
northerner.
show.
Born and raised in New Jersey. I was in Brooklyn a lot with my grandparents, but primarily in New Jersey. And then in 1982, I moved down to Florida, and I just moved up to Charlotte, North Carolina, about not quite 3 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, right smack in the middle of COVID.
Wow. So as an artist, especially somebody that's, trying to get their music heard, how did COVID treat you?
Well, when I was in Orlando, just when COVID was just starting, I was pretty busy. I worked a lot of the jazz clubs and did corporate functions and a lot of festivals, jazz festivals. So I was pretty busy, but I moved up to North Carolina to be closer to family. And when COVID hit, it just shut everything off for me because I didn't have any connections here. And of course, there were no connections to be had. Pretty much everybody was shut down. No one was performing anywhere. And there wasn't much studio work going on either at the time. It was pretty rough.
And what about now? We seem to, I'm not going to say we're over COVID because COVID's always going to be around or some kind of variant of it. But what about now? How are you making up for lost time now when it comes to recording, when it comes to performing? What are you doing now?
I have been very busy in the studio, very, very fortunately for me. I've been so grateful that I've been busy putting out singles. I've had 3 or 4 singles out now this past year that have done very well on the charts. And so that's kept me busy. And then, of course, putting this LP out. That was definitely work. So that kept me busy. As far as performing, it's only just recently that people are out performing again here. So I've started to network. I work with a couple of musicians doing some jazz shows and small venues. At this point, I work with a pianist primarily as a duo. So I'm keeping busy, and I'm very thankful for that.
All right. You spoke about the LP, which we're going to get into some of your music later on. But what's the forecast for when your LP will be out?
The LP is actually out. It came out a couple of months ago, and it's doing pretty well. It was I guess you can call it a compilation. It's got a lot of different styles on that. I was experimenting with my producer on some different sounds. And so there's, it's pretty different. I'm pretty grateful I was able to, on one of my songs, I featured Kirk Whalum, and Stanley Jordan was featured on another one. So, it's doing pretty well.
Your voice sounds like you're happy you did it. You said it sounds pretty well, but are you happy with the sound? Sounds like to me you maybe experimented, but it seems like you maybe want to do something else next time around.
Yes, if you, not to fast forward here, but if you listen to that, you'll hear the different sounds. When you're working in the studio and the producers, when you're working with new producers and they have to sort of feel you out and you try different things, some of them work and some of them don't. So some of them I really like, and some of them are, I don't feel like I gave my absolute best feeling on and my heart and soul on, but they're good songs. They're great songs, actually. But if you compare it to my latest single that just came out 3 days ago, a lot of people don't even recognize. They say, that is not Susanne singing that. And so I was able to really give it my all. And so I'm excited. So the next EP that'll be out toward the end of the year, that will be a little bit more, I'll be more in the comfort zone, I think.
So it sounds as if the producers try to put you in a box that you don't like. Am I reading that correctly? And that this new EP will be more you?
Yes, I can say that. The producers were great. Don't get me wrong. I learned an awful lot this time around, and but I think they had an idea and I had an idea. And, you know, when you're working with someone and stylistically they're a little bit different, they know what's best, I suppose. So, yeah, the next time around, I'm going to bring a little bit more of myself, I think.
All right. And since we're talking about your music, let's talk about this new single. Talk about the new single, and is there a video out for it, and where can people find it?
You can find, it's called I'm Different, and you can find it on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on iTunes, and all the music platforms, of course. And it was #1 on the Spotify radar this past week, so I was very excited about that. The new release radar that Spotify puts out, it became #1. And we already got, just in 3 days, over 5,000 streams, 5,000 streams. And even though it just went to radio, we're starting to shoot up on spins also. So I'm hoping that it charts, and I hope it charts pretty soon.
All right. Well, you know what, Susanne, I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to introduce the record, and we're going to play it right here on Soul on Soul with Phinesse.
Great. My name is Susanne Smith, and I'd like to introduce you to my new and brand new song. It's called I'm Different.
Soul on Soul with Phinesse. Check it out. We'll be right back.
They said you can't be tolerated. They couldn't see through your weaknesses, and that's why you don't wanna believe when I say I'm burning for you. Wish you could see through me. Wish you could see through me. You gotta know how I feel. I'm different, so different. I'm literally in love with you. I'm so in love with you. Baby, I'm different, so different. I'm literally in love with you. So in love with you. If being with you is a crime, then you might as well call 911. 'Cause I'm ready to go down this lane with you. With you. Your past may be full of lies, but I wish you could see that, baby, I'm different, yeah. Wish you could see through me. Oh, baby. Wish you could see through
Welcome back. Song is hot, man. Listen, keep telling y'all, don't sleep on this one. Don't sleep on. I'm glad we got to it early because when they get bigger, they forget about us small guys here that help break them out. So I'm glad we got her here first before she really blows up. Great song. And when you wrote that, and I'm assuming you wrote that. Let me get that out the way first. You wrote that yourself, or?
Actually, I co-wrote it, and it was co-written with my producer, and my producer wrote the vast majority of it.
Okay, all right. So I like that. I want to ask you, having grew up in New Jersey and New York area, and mainly growing up in a black neighborhood, going to maybe black schools. Who are some of your influences musically that helped influence your style?
Well, of course, I'm a little older, so I'm old school. So Motown, of course, was very big. Temptations, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Shaka Khan. Matter of fact, Shaka Khan and Rufus way back when. Stevie Wonder, of course. But I also liked people like Joni Mitchell, and I had a lot of jazz influences too. I loved Angela Bofield, Patti
Oh,
LaBelle,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Laura Nyro, who was a phenomenal writer, but I was into a lot of instrumental things. People too, like George Benson, Grover Washington, and then fast forward. I mean, I love Layla Hathaway, Layla James, Terry Green, who's now she lives in Germany now, but I love her stuff. And of course,
and Terry was from Chicago. Am I right? I remember Terry.
Yeah, she's I think she's in DC right now visiting her mom. But yeah, so those are some of the people. Quincy Jones is one of my favorites. I have to say, Manhattan Transfer. I just really liked a lot of jazz, not to mention funk too.
Okay, all right. And what about what is it about jazz and soul music really influence you?
Probably the rhythms. One of the most influential people for me as a vocalist was Al Jarreau.
Oh, right. Okay.
He, to me, in my opinion, his voice, he was a true vocal master. He was a true vocalist. And I remember hearing him when I was a teenager, and I just really aspired a lot to his phrasing. I really aspired. He was a big inspiration to me.
So I want to ask this because independent artists, younger ones, I'm not going to say so much more as the older ones, they don't get into two things you just mentioned: recognizing the old school and recognizing for what they have done as artists, and then two, the practicing of the craft. Can you speak to the audience, especially those coming up in music, why those two things are important?
Well, as far as the craft goes, some of these kids are incredible. They're like acrobatics that they do vocally, which is tremendous. But a lot of the proper singing, I started in opera actually, and I went on to jazz from there. But the proper form, I mean, your body has to be in shape. You really have to be able to use your voice properly. Otherwise, you're not going to have one by the time you're 50 years old. So I think it's very important for them to learn, proper vocal technique. But then again, some of these kids are just incredible to listen to and what they can do acrobatically with their voice. And I'm sorry, what was the other question?
About recognizing old school artists for what they have done and continue to do for the music and for soul music, I should say.
Yeah, I wish that the schools in the arts would include that and in their teachings, even though I know music and arts has been kind of put on the back burner as far as education goes. But that should be part of some of the curriculums when they're taking music is musical history. not just back in the Baroque period and the Renaissance and all of that we learn, but the old school that we grew up with. I guess I don't know about you, but I did.
Oh, believe you me, we grew up in the same area. I'm 55. I get where you're coming from. Trust me.
But with all due respect, I will say that from what I'm hearing, a lot of these young kids are doing remakes. It feels like the year of the remake, and they are doing a lot of the older school stuff. So hopefully that's done respectfully. And from what I've heard so far, some of the music is pretty good. It keeps it alive.
Right. And since you segue perfectly into one of your songs that I want to play tonight on the show, because I just love it. One, because I'm a Hall & Oates fan, but this is one of my favorite records by them. I can't go for that. And you actually vocally sampled it, and I forgot the name of the song. I thought I wrote it down. I don't have it with me, but perhaps you know the song.
Actually, it's called "I'm Not the One," and we did a couple of remixes on that. I actually did one with Masterpiece Crazy 504 Boy from the No Limit Soldier Camp.
Oh wow! I hope we play that one. I know we have 3 versions of that record.
Yeah, there's one. It's just called "I'm Not the One." That was the original one, but then we put the No Can Do spin on it. The Hall & Oates sample we put on that, and one features Crazy 504 Boy. It's pretty much the identical song. It's just that we put him in and took some of the instrumental out. So if you want to play that one, people might like that one for sure.
I think we're gonna
really well on. Actually, we were on. We got on the global chart that hit the top 200, and on the indie global chart we were number 79, and it went number 13 on an American official indie soul chart. So that was a great song for us.
Well, Suzanne, what I'm going to do is turn the mic over to you and let you introduce the song, and we'll play it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the next song. It's called "I'm Not the One" by Susanne Smith.
So long, so with Phinesse. You heard what Suzanne said. We'll be right back.
Why you chose to take this road, but I'm not willing to give up myself for you to take control. You've been saying all the words, but I'm still circling in love. Oh, baby, you don't even take the trouble. To keep me there beside you, honey, I don't think you even try. It's okay, cause I don't care if you get over in a while. I don't care if you get rid. I don't care if you get older. I don't care why you're so weak. Oh, I'm not the one who will take you back. Take you back so easily.
I can't go further.
You can tell me what you're feeling, why you chose to take this road, but I'm not willing to give up myself for you to take control. You've been saying all the words, but I'm still circling in love. Baby, you don't even take the trouble. You don't even take the trouble to go on.
can't go for that.
Oh, I'm not the one who will take you back so easily, so easily. No, I'm not the one who's gonna take you back, darling, so easily, so
I can't go for that.
Welcome back, Soul on Soul with Phinesse. It's been such a pleasure having Susanne Smith on the show. And like I said, folks, follow her on all social media platforms. And Susanne, give them your website one more time.
My website is SuzanneSmithMusic.com, and my Instagram is @SuzanneSmithMusic, and TikTok is also @SuzanneSmithMusic.
All right. Now, there is another song that we played earlier in the night from you called Lotta Love. Can you give the backstory on that, please?
Yeah, sure. We re-recorded that song. We did a remake on it. It was done originally by Nicolette Larson back in the 70s. And we put a little R&B spin on it, and just wanted to make it a little bit more soulful. We put some saxophone on it, made it a little jazzy sounding. And we did 2 cuts on that also. One is a little faster danceable, and the other one's more of a chillin' music head kind of a song, I guess you can say. And that was number 13 on the IBA Indie Soul chart. And I was very grateful to receive from the RIAA the fastest rising single back in June of 2021.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
folks, I told you, get on the ball. Susanne Smith is the one. New artist. I'm glad we got her here first. Soul on Soul with Phinesse. Susanne, it's been a joy to have you on the show, and you are not a stranger anymore. Anytime you have some new music or you just want to get on, you know how to contact me. We would love to have you.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate that very much.
No problem. And that's going to do it for this edition of Soul on Soul with Phinesse. You know how we do. We keep you soul connected. We'll see you next week. Same soul channel, same soul time. And until next week, peace, love, and soul. Thank you, Don Cornelius, for letting me use that. We're out. Peace.
It's gonna take a lot of love to change the way things are. It's gonna take a lot of love
Soul Media Production.